Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I am Harry, and today we have another episode of Monday Metagaming, where we share some of the latest industry-wide news and my personal reactions to them. We also share channel updates and announcements, and finally we wrap up this session with some recent gameplays and sharing some of the more memorable and new experiences. So first, let's get straight to the news. There was actually a few news items this week that I found to be very interesting. First of all, I saw that their designer Hisashi Hayashi is coming out with his own polyomino type of game. It's called 5x5 Zoo. And I guess you're trying to fill a grid of 5x5 with different shaped types of tiles and completing and scoring points for some types of sets of animals. Don't know too much about the game mechanically, but it looks very interesting, and it made me think about another game that's announced for this year, which I had heard about actually earlier, which is New York Zoo, which is the latest polyomino game made by designer Uwe Rosenberg, who is one of my favorite, and my wife's as well, favorite designers. As a matter of fact, you can check our video, our top 10 Uwe Rosenberg games, that video we posted up last week, and you can see some of our favorite designs of his. But New York Zoo sounds very interesting. Now, I must make a little confession. It's that as of yet, I have not played any of Uwe Rosenberg's polyomino games, right? I have Patchwork, which is probably his highest ranked, the most popular one, which is, on queue and will be played sometime in the near future, but I haven't played any of them as of yet. But this one looks to be interesting. It looks to be light. The recommended age is 10 or older, so it sounds like it's something that even a child could play or non-gamers can be eased into. So that looks very, very interesting, and I'm excited about that. So what else? I saw that there is a print and play game coming out called Tiny Farms. It's a roll and write game. Roll and write games are cool, neat fillers. I find that roll and writes tend to be like the coolest fillers out there for whatever reason. That genre is really, really working, really clicking with lots of people. And a farm agricultural theme, lots of people like it. And I'm one of those people. For whatever reason, it works in board games, right? Even if you're not interested in agriculture in your personal life, for whatever reason, it works well in a board game. Also, real interesting news, a reprint of Tribune, which is an older design, maybe about 10 years old, by designer Karl-Heinz Schmiel. And this is the same guy that designed, I can't come up with the name of the game on my head. I'll show it somewhere on the screen. It's an older German-themed, German election game, right? Which is kind of like a classic, long, heavy game. But here, Tribune, I guess, is a lighter game, a worker placement game with some sort of negotiation and political theme, Roman Empire type of theme. I like it. Games of a Roman Empire flavor speak to me. They appeal to me. They catch my attention. And I've heard good things about this game, and it's been out of print for such a long time. It's been kind of a grail game for me, but I haven't quite wanted to spend a good amount to get a used copy for it. So maybe a brand new, moderately priced edition might provoke me to purchase. And finally, the last piece of interesting news is a game called Traintopia. Can't remember the designer's name off the top of my head, but this is a tile placement game, similar to Carcassonne. It actually, when you look at it, it looks a little bit like Carcassonne, but with a train theme. And these are two things that really, really appeal to me. I love tile placement games, and for as much as I love tile placement games, no game has been able to dethrone Carcassonne for me. I know a lot of people, like to hate on Carcassonne because it's an older game, but for whatever reason, other tile placement games have not dethroned Carcassonne for me as of yet. And this is a train-themed one. I like train themes. So I think there's a good chance that when this comes out, I might be interested in getting a copy. And this game could end up being a good game. I don't know. I'll have to see more, maybe see a couple reviews, see what people say about the game. I don't want to buy a game just because it has two things that I like, because it doesn't mean that when you conflate the two, I'll necessarily like it or it'll equal or translate to an actually good game. But it has me intrigued. And that is it for the news this week. Now we will go straight into the channel updates and announcements. So first of all, the first update here is that this week we had a little bit of a down week as the channel is concerned. Our lowest subscriber count or subscriber addition in the last 10 weeks. We only had 3 subscribers this week. So we are at a total of 87, chugging along, scraping and clawing our way up to 100. We had 4 consecutive weeks of at least 9 or more subscribers. And prior to those 4 weeks, 3 out of the 4 weeks before that, we had at least 4 subscribers. So really, this is the lowest count in about 7 weeks, because we did have a week somewhere in between there where we only had 2 subscribers. So I don't know what happened. Luck of the draw. Sometimes you just get lucky. We had just had 12 subscribers the week before. That was really exciting. But hey, we're going back down. So hey guys, if you like our channel, please subscribe. If you like doing charitable deeds, please subscribe. I don't care what reason you do it for. Just subscribe to our channel. So yeah, there's that. And we continue chugging along. We're approaching the 5,000 view mark. So that's very, very exciting as a channel. To have 5,000 views. We just celebrated our 3-month YouTube anniversary. So thank you guys so much. It was about 4 or 5 days ago we celebrated our 3-month anniversary. So we're really happy and excited. We're a quarter of a year and we have 87 subscribers. That means on that pace we would probably get to somewhere around the 350 mark in a year, way exceeding my goal of 100. I wanted to get to 100 subscribers in 1 year. So thank you guys all for the support that you show our channel. So some of the things that we're gonna have for this week. First of all, we are gonna have a top 10 list tomorrow. The top 10 games that I own the most content for. So I think that's gonna be an interesting video, not only to see where I've invested my money economically, but also maybe giving you guys some ideas of games that have lots of content out there, that have lots of valuable content, lots of replayable content, and maybe give you guys some ideas of games you could invest in as well. Also, I will be having another episode of Thursday's Tabletop Tangent on Thursday, of course. And I will be talking about finding people to game with, which is one of the biggest struggles of the gaming hobby. A couple of weeks ago from my Thursday's Tabletop Tangent, I talked about the advantages of board gaming as a hobby over hobbies like movies and sports. And one of the reactions that I got, or a common answer or response I got from a lot of people, is the dependence of the board game hobby on other people. Yes, there's solo gaming and lots of that stuff, but a lot of the games, the majority of the games, depend on you having at least one, if not more, people to play with. So I totally get it. So we'll be talking about that struggle that gamers deal with, about finding people to game with. Finally, another announcement is I'm going to be going back to doing unboxing videos. Yes, last week I had just announced that I would be quitting the unboxing videos. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to upload the special deliveries with the same frequency. They're going to come sporadically so I could pile up a few more games to show on the special delivery videos. But for the usual unboxing of a game a week, where I actually unbox the game and show the contents and the components, I'm going to go back to doing that. I took the break last week because I felt that those videos weren't getting many views, but I felt that the channel was hurt even more by its absence, because at the end of the day, even if it was only getting 15, 20 views, that's 15 or 20 views that I wouldn't get on a Wednesday, let's say, when I upload these, unboxing videos. So hey, 15 to 20 more views on a Wednesday can add to the traffic of the channel, perhaps get some eyes, watching this channel, seeing what we have to offer. So we're going to go back to doing the unboxings. I'm going to try to focus more on games of interest, games that might appeal and that people might be interested in seeing what's inside. So that's it for the announcements. Now let's get to the recent plays. And this week, yet again, another good week. What can I say? I am the luckiest guy on earth. Here we are in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of this social distancing, this quarantine, and I still got 16 plays this week. And that's not counting the tons of games that I play with my son, right? Because, you know, I don't record those on Board Game Geek necessarily. I might record the first couple plays of a new game with him. And then after that is like, well, I don't want to show my, 800 plays of Zingo in a year, right? So, which I did play lots of games with him, the Rabbit Rally, which we've been playing lately, which I find it to be a pretty exciting game for a little kid. We also got Pop the Pig recently, which is a corny little gimmick game, but he loves it, right? He's 4 years old. What can we do? So, 16 plays. Now, 8 of those plays alone were with my wife, Lily, who's been such a trooper. Because honestly speaking, 8 plays a week for her has kind of like become the consistent thing. And it wasn't before. Before we would play maybe, I would say, on a really, really bad week, we would probably only hit the table twice, play 2 games. And on a really, really good week, we probably would play 6. So we would have that range. A more typical week would look like about 4 games. 4 to 5 games would be a more typical week. Now we're getting 8 plays. She's stepping up her game because she knows that, I'm starving for people to play with. And she's been playing a lot. So the games we've been playing, we played San Juan. And this has become a staple game in our house in the last couple weeks. We've been really, really enjoying it. It's the card version of Puerto Rico. Really, really cool. It condenses the game to just a card game, to just focusing on the building of San Juan, because part of Puerto Rico is building up the city of San Juan with different buildings that give you different victory points and abilities. But another big chunk is producing the crops and shipping them for different amounts of victory points. This just focused on the city building, which honestly speaking, I find to be the coolest part of Puerto Rico, period, anyways. And then it's a card game. I tend to be very fond of card games and very similar to Race for the Galaxy, one of my favorite games. Not too sure if it's ever going to eclipse Race for the Galaxy in that sense, but really, really good game. Point Salad. I just posted on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, why are you wasting your time? Check my Instagram account, When Harry Met Board Games 7. Point Salad. I just uploaded about this yesterday. And I said that Point Salad is becoming, if not already, my favorite filler game. And the more I think about it, I think about other fillers, I don't think it's going to even be close. This game is such a great filler. So Point Salad, the way you play, you have 3 columns. And on the top of the columns, the top row, are the stacks of different cards with they're face down, and on the back side, you have a different scoring condition. So there's 108 cards, which means there's 108 different ways of scoring in this game. Really, really neat. But mechanically, it's such a simple game. It's a card drafting game where you have 2 choices. You either draft one of those, scoring cards from the stacks, or there's 2 rows, which are considered the market of the different veggies, the different salad items. You could grab any 2 salad items from the market. So you either draft a scoring card or you draft a salad item. And at any point, you can flip over your scoring card and turn it into the salad item that's on the opposite side. You can never turn a salad item back into a scoring condition, but that's fine. So you're trying to get all the cards that help you score, but you're also trying to get the items that, activate those scoring conditions. So it's a little bit of finding that right balance. You don't want to have too many ways of scoring, but not enough ways of actually getting those points. And you don't want to have lots of veggies or salad items, but not enough ways of scoring points. Really, really cool. Really neat game. Again, climbing up my rankings. And the greatest thing is, it's a great filler for 2. I find that sometimes fillers, some fillers, like Ink and Gold or For Sale, some of the classic fillers, you kind of needed bigger groups of people to play with. Here, this is a great filler for a small group, but it can accommodate up to 4 people as well, and it does it pretty good. So that's Point Salad. We also played El Grande. El Grande is one of my favorite games of all time. Classic area control game designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Robert Ulrich, and It's basically in Spain, and it's interesting because we're playing with the Grandissimo expansion lately. The last couple of times we've played has been with the Grandissimo expansion. And what the Grandissimo expansion does, it adds, first of all, adds a whole new stack of action cards that you can use, when you're, taking your turn and activating things. But it also adds a few character cards that give you different abilities. You have the Jester, and you have the Grand Inquisitor, and you have the Queen, and they grant you different abilities. But it also has two different buildings or tiles. Actually, one is a ship, and the other one is a prison, and you can manipulate those. We haven't done too much with that. We've benefited more of the actual cards and some of the characters, but we haven't messed too much with the prison or the ship. But the way the ship works is you could place meeples or your caballeros on the ships, and at any point you can grab all the caballeros in the ship, including your opponents, all the caballeros, and dump them into one coastal region, right? So you got the map of Spain, you have a bunch of regions that are in the center, but then you also have the coastal regions, and you place them all there. The prison allows you to take meeples off the board and put them into the prison so you can hurt your opponents. But also, this adds Portugal as a scoring region. So it adds a lot of little wrinkles that make the game richer. Now, I do also play with a variant, a self-created variant. I think I'm responsible in my life for making up like 2 or 3 variants for different games. And this is one of them. And I'm actually very proud of this. And it's a variant because El Grande could be played with 2 players, but as most area control games, it suffers at 2 players. This variant adds a dummy 3rd player. And basically, the dummy 3rd player not only has a presence on the board, placing down his caballeros, but the dummy player also contributes to the auction because that is the biggest part. On top of the area control not being as tight because you don't have that secondary scoring when you're playing a 2-player game of El Grande, you only have for having the majority, you don't score for having secondary. On top of it having a dummy player so that you could have that secondary scoring, there's the fact that the auctioning is so easy to manipulate the other person because if the other person bids first, you can choose whether or not you just want to outbid them, right? And you could outbid them just barely, right? Or if they bid really, really high, you're like, well, I'm going to lose anyways, so I might as well bid a really, really low number and draw more caballeros into my court, because that's the thing about the auctioning system. The lower number you bid, the more caballeros you can get into your court, because if you don't have the caballeros in your court, they're not available on your turn for you to put them on the map. So I don't like the manipulation of that 2-player auction. So having a 3rd player to throw in a random auction, a random bid into the auction is really, really cool, and it makes people think twice. And the way it works is if that dummy player gets the 1st or 2nd, highest bid, they remove a card of the available options and one of the higher ranking cards from being available for you to choose. So sometimes you don't want the dummy player to win because you don't want to lose access to some of those better cards. So I think that is really, really cool. My bias for inventing that variant, but it's worked and it's added lots of fun to the game combined with the Grandissimo expansion. We also played Dice Hospital, very fun, medically themed game or hospital themed game where your patients are dice and the numbers on the pips determine how healthy or how critically ill they are, and you're trying to prevent them from dying. You're trying to treat them little by little so that they can be discharged, and the more dice you discharge in the same round, the more points you score. So they score you exponentially almost. Not really literally exponentially, but they score you more if you discharge more as opposed to if you discharge less. And there's 3 different colors, and I guess the 3 different colors represent like 3 different types of patients, 3 different types of illnesses. And you expand your hospital by either acquiring more, personnel, more specialists. You have different types of specialists in cardiology and in renal care and all these different areas. And you also expand your hospital by adding different units that can be used. And you're trying to find the right balance because your units are like the worker placement spots, because this is a worker placement game, even though every player has their own individual worker placement board, which is their hospital. And it's more like a puzzle. You're trying to find the right combination and the right sequence of which spots to trigger to be as, efficient as possible. Really cool. And for my wife and I, who both worked in the medical field at one point, My wife still does work in the medical field. For us, you know, there's a special interest there because of that. We also played Pursuit of Happiness, which is one of my favorite games, period. One of my favorite worker placement games. Life, the board game. I know some people knock on it, but I really, really enjoy it. Even Lily's not that fond of it, but I love the game. First of all, just the table talk during that game, the role playing of the different situations, you know, participating in an activity, acquiring a property, you know, gaining a hobby or a collection, participating in all these different social events and you know, finding a life partner, getting a job that you never dreamt of, managing all these resources and the resource conversion that takes place in this game, which mechanically is the heart of the game, converting all these different resources into one another and finding the right balance of what you need. I need more social tokens. I need or influence tokens. I need more creativity tokens. I need more knowledge tokens. I need more money. You know, there's the short-term happiness struggle with the stress struggle, because if you don't find the right balance of living a happy, stress-free life, you're gonna die earlier. My wife Lily always outlives me in this game without fail. I've beaten her one time. I think we've played this game 6 or 7 times, and I've beaten her one time. I will say this, most of the games, if not all of them, are always very, very close. They're always, you know, determined by like 3-4 points most. So, but it's really, really fun, really, really exciting, and I enjoy it mechanically as well as thematically. And finally, with my wife, we played 2 games of a new game for her, not a new game for me. This game is actually already highly ranked in my top 50 games of all time. You should check it out in my video. And it's Castles of Burgundy, Stefan Feld's classic Castles of Burgundy. We played it twice with my wife. She's not ready to admit it yet, but I think she really, really likes it, because she was the one who asked for the second play of it in a week. And it's rare for her to ask to play the same game twice in a week, especially a game like Castles of Burgundy, which is a longer, heavier game. I wouldn't say it's heavyweight, but it's definitely medium to heavy. And it's a good 1 hour and a half. And Lily, my wife Lily, wanted to play it a second time. Usually when she wants to play a game multiple times in a week, it's either a tried and true favorite, like, you know, Agricola, Le Havre, some of her favorite games of all time, or it's a short filler game that doesn't take a lot of time. For her to want to play this game, it says a lot. Castles of Burgundy, amazing game about players trying to like grow their estate by planting all these different types of tiles, which represent different types of areas, and scoring points. Typical Stefan Feld fashion, point salad, so many different ways of scoring points. You just got to find the right way that works for you. I must say I did beat her both times. She did really well her first time. I still beat her, consider that. And then she did amazing in her second game, where it took an incredible and even more amazing second half comeback for me to barely beat her. I think I beat her by 2 points. It might have been 1 point. It was really, really close. And literally, she was crushing me for at least 3/5 of that game. But it was really fun, great experience. I also played a few games with my nephews this week via teleconferencing. I truly miss my nephews. I love and adore them, my nephews and my niece. And I miss gaming with them. But we found a way to game. We're way less limited in our repertoire, because basically we have to play games that we both own so that we could play it remotely and still have that tactile experience and enjoy and have fun. So we played Wits and Wagers, which is a trivia game, party game. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite party games. I will admit, I do rank party games differently than other board games, in the sense that they're not going to rank as high for me as other games. If you check my top 50 games of all time, spoiler here, there's no party games in my top 50. Now, there's a couple in my top 100, and I imagine that as I play more games, even many of those will find their way out. But for now, Wits and Wagers is my favorite party game of all time. We had a really good time, really fun time playing it remotely. And because it's a party game and just the elements of it, it was a very easy thing to do it via teleconferencing, via FaceTime on WhatsApp. We also played, my niece and I actually played a game of Pandemic with the Virulent Strain expansion from the, or module from the On the Brink expansion, which I think is probably my favorite way to play Pandemic. It's really, really hard. I rarely win, or me and whoever I play with rarely win. Really, really challenging. But I love the idea of there being this one strain, this one virus that is like the main event and the one that you really have to watch out for, and it's constantly evolving and changing and flipping the script on you. I find that to be neat. My niece and I came very, very close. We cured 3 diseases, and we were on the verge, not quite, but on the verge of curing the 4th one, and then finally an 8th outbreak hit, and we lost the game, right? I find that with a virulent strain, more often than not, that's how we lose. We lose with the 8th outbreak. We don't lose because the time running out. We don't lose because too many cubes overwhelm us from one virus. It's really just those outbreaks. They're really hard to control. All right. And then finally, 2 more plays with my nephews. We played 2 games of Dominion with the Seaside expansion, and that was a blast. I had not played Dominion with my nephews in almost 2 months. It's one of our favorite games to play together as a family. But the thing is, they needed their own copy. So they ordered their own copy of Dominion Seaside along with the Dominion starter cards. And with that, they have everything to go forward. They set up their Dominion in front of them. I set up my Dominion in front of us. And because Dominion is such a static deck builder, it doesn't have an ever-changing lineup or trade row. Because of that, it's so easy to play remotely. As a matter of fact, it might be in my top 10 games to play remotely while in quarantine. I made a video about that too. Check that out. Top 10 games to play remotely while we're in quarantine. So you can still have that tactile experience, right? And feel that social interaction that perhaps things like Tabletop Simulator and similar things, similar platforms don't, create for you. So we played Dominion 2 times. It was a great game. I was crushed. I was last place out of 4 people, my 2 nephews and my niece, in the first game. But I came back with a vengeance and won the second game. And again, really, really fun. I'm so excited that we can, now that they own their copy, we could play more Dominion now again too. I was getting tired of only playing Ticket to Ride remotely. All right, and finally I had a couple solo plays this week. I played Marvel Legendary, one of my favorite games of all time. I played with the Dark City expansion, in particular with Strife and the X Factor superheroes in there. Really fun game. I was able to win, which I'm going to be honest, when I play Marvel Legendary solo, I lose a lot. I find the solo variants to be very hard, and I actually don't play with the official solo variant. I play with a modified solo variant, which you could check in a playthrough that I made of it. I did not invent the solo variant that I use. I found it on BGG, on BoardGameGeek.com, and it allows you to play with more of the content, because sometimes the official variant, you play with reduced, smaller decks, and you don't get to see all the content, and I like using the content. And finally, another deck builder. I played 2 games of Xenoshift this week, a science fiction, Starship Troopers like themed deck building game with a tower defense mechanism. And I played it solo. You could play it solo as an official solo variant. I played it 2 times, and for one of those plays, I recorded it for a playthrough for the channel, which will be uploaded later on this week. So those were my 16 plays for the week. Again, an amazing week. I cannot complain. I am so fortunate and so lucky to just be me. All right, so that's it for this episode of Monday Metagaming. Thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to smash that like button down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Do it. Come on. We've got some good stuff in this channel. We listen to our subscribers. Comment down below. Tell me what you played recently. Ask me a question. File a complaint. I don't care. If you comment down below, I will reply to you. That's how we treat our subscribers and even those who peruse through our channel here on When Harry Met Board Games. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. I am Harry saying have a wonderful week. I hope you guys get some great gaming in, and please take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.